So, Melissa, today I want to talk to you about ADHD and dating. So, before one even gets into a relationship, they might start thinking they want to date. I want to ask you, what do you have to talk about in terms of wanting to date and feeling embarrassment about your lack of discipline, structure, organization, and just ADHD getting in the way?
Well, first of all, I think dating apps for in this, I know people are using a lot of match type dating apps and stuff are horrible for people with ADHD.
ADHD.
Because among other things, they have to be organized enough to respond immediately or within a certain time frame and in a way that is logical for the other person. And they can't be impulsive, but sort of want to be impulsive. I mean, it's just like this booby trap full of stuff. So I really feel for folks who are trying to date. I get questions a lot actually about, when do I tell somebody about ADHD? If I've started to date them, will it scare them off? Do they need to know? And I answer that question by saying at the time at which it feels, either it's sort of just come up, like somebody says, oh, that's really ADD, which is one of these expressions that I hate, but there you go. It's out there. You can say, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, and bring it in, or you've been dating somebody long enough that it seems appropriate to start sharing some inner stuff. I do not believe you have to talk all about ADHD right up front, because what you're really interested in is how you click.
Sure.
Don't click.
Sure.
But
I think it's interesting you brought up the dating apps because I was a serial online dater before I met my husband on the dating apps.
Yeah.
And my unknown ADHD was giving me such a dopamine high when I was making connections.
Yeah. It's really addictive, and addiction tendencies go hand in hand with ADHD because of the reward focused brain. So, another thing to be wary of is duration of how long you date. So there is a very real thing called hyper-focused courtship. And the way that it works is in your brain, anybody, anywhere, ADHD, no ADHD, whatever. When you become interested in somebody, your brain gets extra dopamine. And that's a connecting mechanism. It's to try to keep you attentive. It goes on. The research suggests, and this isn't done in the ADHD community, but the research suggests that it goes on for about 24 to 28 months. And during that time frame, dating somebody with ADHD is like the best thing in the world. It's phenomenal. And then the extra dopamine stops. And sometimes people find a new person in their relationship, like that actual ADD guy comes out and you get the more normal stuff. So I always tell people, make sure you date for at least 3 years, which is a really long time in ADD land. I mean, that sounds like a century. But
my husband and I have been together for 3 years, have 3 kids.
Yeah, see, exactly. I know. I'm married.
Both ADHDers.
I got married 18 months, well within that window. But what happens to some couples, and it happened to us actually, was that when that dopamine it wore off, it was like a cliff. It just one day it was gone. And unfortunately it came pretty soon after our honeymoon. And then a completely different person was in my partnership. I was completely confused. I had no idea what was going on, why my partner was paying zero attention to me, et cetera. Wow. So it can be a really, really difficult experience to move from that hyper-focused courtship to the other thing. So that's another dating tip.
I thought that that's fascinating, by the way. I mean, and I hear you loud and clear. Don't they say that after 2 years of being with a partner, you really get to know the ins and outs of them? So at that point, then you work through all the mishmash or whatever, and then you really get to know the person. and the ins and the outs.
Yep.
So,
But but in a non-ADHD relationship, when that dopamine goes away, you go to what is a normal level of dopamine, i.e., you can still continue to pay attention. You can still follow through on what you were doing. You're not doing the reward seeking behavior that a lack of dopamine sends you into in the brain.
Mhm.
And so it's only the ADHD partners that have this cliff that happens.
wow.
Yeah. And because it sends them into a low dopamine state, which is dramatically different from the high dopamine state. So there's a bigger jump.
So I'm gonna probably put something out there that our viewers won't want to hear, but that's what I do. Would you then say, because of that, there is more statistics out there that individuals who are in relationships with ADHD can cheat because their dopamine decreases?
I'm not, so the hyper-focused courtship and the cheating are not related to each other.
Okay.
There is a fair amount of cheating going on, and I don't have the statistics up here, but I actually have them because there's been some research done on it. It was done by Ari Tuckman, actually. So he looked at over 3,000 couples where one partner had ADHD and one partner didn't have ADHD, and he did a whole bunch of questions to them about their relationships. But the statistics around cheating are that people who have ADHD, men and women who have ADHD, cheat physically and emotionally more frequently than men and women who do not have ADHD, who are in these same relationships, right? It's not about, oh, you're in a certain kind of relationship that's impacted by ADHD. It's the straight up, they're all in the same boat, but there is more
That's
cheating
fascinating.
with ADHD. Yeah. And I think some of that is impulsivity, and some of that is this reward seeking behavior. People with ADHD are not as strong at saying, I really want that, but I'm not actually going to pursue it. They don't have those brakes on their impulsivity. I think there's a lot of insecurity when you grow up with ADHD, particularly when it was undiagnosed, and so affairs feel particularly good for that as well. And a lot of these relationships are struggling, which isn't a reason to go have an affair. There are lots of other ways to approach it, but it does play a role for some people. So there's a lot of it going on. But the ADHD of both genders have both more emotional affairs and more physical affairs.
And what do you recommend to clients as far as once that dopamine runs out or levels out after 24 months, 48 months? So 2 years, 4 years.
It's 24 to 28 months. It's a pretty short one.
Okay.
Somewhere between 2 years and around 2.5, around there. Yeah.
Okay. So when that runs dry, what do you recommend to the couples to bring back their dopamine levels now that they're essentially seeing a totally new partner?
Well, so first of all, they have to understand what's going on, right? Otherwise, they end up like I did, going, like, I have no idea what happened, but I think I'm in trouble.
Who am I on this honeymoon with?
It's like, I think I did something wrong, but I don't know what it is. And when I say to my husband, why don't you like me anymore? He's like, what are you talking about? I mean, he didn't have any idea because he just went back to sort of, the norm. I think that first of all, it's important to understand that all couples, whether or not they have ADHD or not, suffer a decline of satisfaction with their relationship in their first marriage. I mean, sorry, not in the first marriage. That was a slip of the tongue. In the first year of their marriage. This is Arthur C. Brooks has done some research on happiness. I don't know if you know him. He's with the Atlantic magazine and some others, and he's got the Happiness Project, great podcasts, all sorts of fun information. But he has this lovely chart, you get married and then you do this, sort of steep, and then it levels off, but you're still going down until about age 50 something. It's in the 50s where
Mhm.
happiness starts to go back up.
Mhm.
So everybody's having some issues. And the more you know about ADHD, the better able you are to interpret what's going on and understand that, yeah, you're having worse issues than your friends or neighbors because this is here. And here are the things you can do to improve things. So it's really about then learning how to interact and how to manage your differences. And they are typically for couples impacted by ADHD, that the differences are typically bigger than they thought they were.
Gotcha.
100%. Yeah, you talk about the reward system, the impulsivity, the insecurity. I think another addition is, I think you guys kind of touched up on it a little bit more, but just the distractions of social media. I mean, we talk about dating apps as being one thing, but even just social media, going on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, getting those likes, those comments, seeing the whole world kind of moving in front of your eyes just like that. And yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
the dopamine spikes, and you see it all right in front of you, and it's a very large level of distractions right there.
Yeah. And, the good news about the dating, it's so ubiquitous. You'll see that in the dating.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
and and so you get a sense of, is this okay with me or not? I mean, I watch my son and his wife, neither of them have ADHD, but one of the things they really like to do is just, watch some of these clips and stuff together, and they laugh and have a great time, and they have people they follow, so it's just part of how they interact with each other, but they do it together versus being distracted from each other. And
Right.
and I think that's the issue really is, how engaged are you when distraction is the number one symptom of one of the partners?
Mhm.
Right. So it's really about, how do you build those rituals of engagement? And they might be around watching a movie together or going on to Instagram together or whatever it is, as long as you have enough engagement
Yeah.
around things that satisfy you both. But yeah, it's a huge distraction, and it is designed to keep your dopamine levels firing and keep you addicted. I mean, dopamine is the reward thing, so
Yeah. Yeah. The
not just
algorithms.
about ADD. Yeah.
Yeah, the algorithms are designed for that. And then that coupled with the transient society, it's becoming so much more transient, and just the way we move and function at work, and the stresses of building your career. I'm a college student, and everyone around me, I mean, everyone I know has used a dating app
Yeah.
before at least once, and everyone I know has social media, and everyone I know is trying to build the careers, and that coupled with the stress and everything, it's
Mm.
important to utilize those engagement rituals that you bring up.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's also really, the social media and the going out on the internet and stuff is all part of traversing what you're trying to traverse. I have to say, it makes me kind of sad that the college kids are also using dating apps. I get it. My son met his wife on a dating app, and, but, you're in college. There's so many people there. It's just like, but oh well.
Yeah.
I'm just an old fogey. What can I say?
Hey, don't age yourself.
Well, the hair does that for me.
Funny story. So like I said, I was a serial dater on these dating apps. I had gone out with someone, we had broken up, and I said, forget it. I'm off the dating apps. And 1 month later, I meet my husband in real life at a party.
Mhm.
And both of us are ADHDers. He didn't know he had it at the time. I did. And it's just amazing how, like, we both were off of the apps and were able to really understand who we were without like temptation from the app world.
Yeah. I think all you have to do is go to a restaurant these days and watch a family, right? With little kids. The little kids are watching their videos. The parents are on their phones. Nobody's talking to each other. It is a barrier to actually openly engaging with people in a real way.
Yeah.
And they're missing every restaurant meal like that for that family is a missed opportunity to connect in the ways that actually build healthy brains, healthy connections, etc. So the social apps do the same thing, even though you have to limit their use in order to be able to have the other kinds of healthy things and the experiences like what you had. You guys were both open to just like
Absolutely.
experiencing it, which is great.